Hello, my dear friends and net aspirants. Welcome back to High Point again. First of all, you mark your attendance if you are continuously following my videos and you are continuously following the lecture series about cultural studies. And if you are also there in Instagram, you can also follow me on Instagram for variety of materials. And also use this number in order to contact me if you wanted to subscribe to our course in our website as a student. And do visit my website www.highpoint.in for better understanding of what you need to study for NTA UGC Net JRF English Language and Literature. There we have divided the entire indicative syllabus of NTA UGC Net JRF English under 11 subjects, 11 topics, and it is they are further divided into modules and chapters and all. So you can visit and have the free trial and see the materials that we are providing, how we are training there in order to bring about best while you are appearing for your Net JRF English Language and Literature exam. So use this number in order to reach out to me, and also you can use Instagram to know more about the courses and the offers and the bonuses, free bonuses that we are sharing for our students. Moving on about the nation states, let's have an introduction first of all. Nation state are primarily predicted upon control mechanism for an equitable distribution of resources. So nation state, we have India as our nation, and state, I'm from Kerala, so you may be from another state. So these mechanisms, primarily why we have this mechanism, nation state mechanism, we primarily need them for an equity based distribution of resources. So a lot of resources are available out there in our territory, and also a lot of resources that we are importing from other lands. So there need to be an equity in this distribution of resources. For that reason, for that purpose, we need the mechanism of nation states. If this equitable distribution functions and the power over political economy are taken over by transnational corporate offices, hence an important role of the nation state will end. So nation states is primarily for this equitable distribution of resources, but MNCs, this transnational corporate offices, if they take over the political power or the power over political economy. So when you have a power upon the distribution of resources, that means you have a power over the political economy. But if the MNCs, they are taking over, if they are taking over this power over political economy, then this important role of nation state of equitable distribution of resources, that will come to an end. However, governments in the new order will serve other purposes. So in the new order, in the postmodern era, we have new other responsibilities for governments to serve. So governments can be there, even the MNCs take over this power over political economy, then the governments can serve other purposes, such as decision making about external investment or the development of the local telematics infrastructure. So this is very important. So if the MNCs need to embark into a territory, then the nation state should allow them to, right? So this decision making about external investment, so that power is still with the government. Or the development of the local telematics infrastructure, that is also belongs to governments only. With globalization, the nation state loses the fiscal basis for social policies and its capacity to steer the economy. So globalization made possible that the MNCs or the multinational corporates, they can come to your territory and they establish their plant, and their fragmented industry they can implant in your territory too. They can produce things from there. They can even they can even control your consumer habits, and they can sell their products, and they can create desire if there is no desire at all for that product. Okay, so globalization made it happen in that way through telecommunication mechanisms, through telecommunication, social media platforms. So because of globalization, the nation state loses the fiscal basis, the economic basis for social policies. They actually loses the control over their power to make social policies and its capacity to steer the economy. Nationality as a way of life and a homogeneous basis of civil solidarity are diminished. So nationality is a way of life. So many transnational communications are happening. Transnational economy is emerging. So the nationality is a way of life and homogeneous basis of civil solidarity. So this homogeneity that we have nationally, that is actually diminished because of globalization. So in a way this can be termed as a negative impact of globalization. This make it difficult for nation state to meet the need for self-legitimation. So because of this invasion happened, because of new kind of invasion happened as a part of globalization, it is very difficult for nation state to meet the needs of self-legitimation. The interdependency of world society challenges the basic premise that national politics is enough to address the problems of individual nation states. So the interdependency of world society challenges the basic premise that because of globalization there is an interdependency of world society, and this actually challenges the very elementary premise, that very elementary notion that national politics is enough to address the problems of individual nation states. So it's not, the government is not enough to address the national politics, the individual national political issues, okay, but interdisciplinary world actually challenges this very notion. Habermas therefore suggests that there is a need to bring global economic networks under political control. So what Habermas suggests that because there is a diminishing role for the local government or the nation state as a notion, as a mechanics, as a mechanism to work in a territory, Habermas suggests that there is a need to bring this global economic network under political control in order to make it more democratic. Okay, a democratic order need not be rooted in the nation. So maybe the nation is democratic, but the democratic need not always be rooted in a nation. Habermas dictates two problems for nation state in this age. First one is how can we envision the democratic legitimation of decisions beyond the schemes of the nation state. So he actually cites two problems for nation state in this age, in this contemporary age. He finds out two problems for nation state. The first one is there are many decisions that are beyond the reach of nation state. How we can democratically legitimize that decision making power for nation state. So how can we envision the democratic legitimation of decisions beyond the scheme of the nation state? And the second problem with the nation state in this age, according to Habermas, is that where are the conditions to ensure that states and supranational regimes see themselves as members of the community who need to consider one another's and general interest. So what are the conditions to ensure that states and supranational regimes are themselves as member of a community who need to consider one another's and general interest? How that can be ensured? Okay. Now, Habermas offers two answers to the above problems. So he has not only cited two problems for nation state in this contemporary age, he offers two answers to the above two problems too. The first problem can be sorted in this way: democratic procedure is legitimized by the general accessibility to the decision making process. So we can democratize this decision making process by giving accessibility, a functioning public sphere, discussion and accessibility, free democratic legitimacy from the established forms of state organization. So you can actually bring about a function where more public decision making process is involved, where discussions will be happening and accessibility to this decision making is given. So democratic legitimacy from the established forms of state organization can be accessed like this. That kind of an access give to the public given to the public sphere. He suggests institutional participation of non-governmental organization in decision-making process at national levels. So, for the things which are beyond the reach of government decision-making process, that can be come under by giving more public accessibility to non-governmental organizations. Okay, so in national level you can give participation to non-governmental organization. So that can in that way the first issue can be tackled. In the second issue can be tackled in this way: global powers may have to involve themselves in the institutionalized procedures of transnational will formation. They have now willingly broadened their definition of national interest into a viewpoint of global governance, marking a change from international relation to a global domestic policy. So in this way too they can tackle the second issue. Global powers may have to involve themselves in this institutionalized procedures of transnational will formation. They have to involve themselves in this transnational will formation. They have to willingly they have to willingly broaden their definition of national interest. So while they make decisions, this global, they need to consider this national problem. They have to broaden their definition of national interest. Okay, now moving on. The important challenge to the nation state is from the ethnic and other minorities. So the nation state, they will have a different policy, while the ethnic and other minorities will have another kind of priorities. That is a challenge that nation state will face during this time, in this age. A subaltern resistant to the hierarchic oppressive upper class or caste state is clearly visible now. The subaltern people, those who are oppressed, Dalit people, they are not minorities but they are marginalized, and their resistance, their privileges, their preferences will be different, and many other ethnic small or large ethnic groups, their preferences are different. So the subaltern resistant to the hierarchic oppressive upper class or caste state is clearly visible now. So the class or the state decisions will be different from the priorities of this ethnic and other minority groups. For example, subaltern historiography in India draws attention to the way the Indian nation has been constructed through a process of exclusion and marginalization of the Dalit Bahujan, of women and of the working class. So their history will be different, their perception will be different, their priorities will be different. Because, for example, subaltern historiography, if you see subaltern historiography, or if you are searching for subaltern participation in Indian freedom struggle or in the formation of India as a nation, they'll see the subaltern historiography in India draws attention. It will draw attention to the how Indian nation has been constructed through the process of exclusion and marginalization of the Dalit Bahujans, of women and of the working class. So while they see the historiography in India, how India as a nation was formed, they will grab your attention to this historiography of India in such a way that how through various other process of exclusion and marginalization of these subaltern people. Who are these subaltern people? Dalit people, women and the working class, they are subaltern people. So how they were systematically excluded and marginalized from this history, and how that marginalization bring about the present condition of the Indian nation. So they will they'll draw your attention in that way to subaltern historiography. In the third world, the task of a nation state is to induce social mobilization in order to create a national society. So in the third world countries, mainly the nation state, they have another responsibility too, in order to mobilize the entire nation to make a national society. For this, the social and political elites of the country seek to create a supercultural entity through the discourse of nationalism. See, take the example of India. We were colonized and we got our freedom in 1947, and we can see that our nation, we are a third world country, and how we are emerging, how we are creating a supra-cultural entity, that we create the notion that the culture was something different and something, our ethnic culture, our nation has a different kind of culture which is so supra cultural. Supra means something that stands beyond. There is a unchanging culture that we have to follow that culture. We will create that kind of a culture, supra cultural entity, through the discourse of nationalism. We will merge this cultural and nationalist images and things together in order to create a supra cultural entity. Through that, this nation can be formed. Through that, this state government or the central government, they can create a nation. They can bind this entire people together. They put an effort to make such a national supra-cultural entity through which they'll form a national society. So this is also one of the responsibilities that third world government has. Now, this meant that the nation state sought to integrate ethnic minorities into a national society through educational, cultural, and social policies. So, the historiography provides the proof that how Dalit Bahujans, women in India especially, or the subaltern people, how they were excluded in order to make this nation, national figure, national image. But here, after independency, after this nation state, they have to integrate. They have a responsibility, or they need to sort to integrate these ethnic minorities, these Dalit Bahujans, these subaltern people. They are also integral part of this nation, and they need to be integrated into the national society through various other institutions, such as educational institutions, providing education, providing cultural participation, providing social policies, and all. That's why the minorities are getting many privileges. That's how Dalit people, they are getting privileges. Government policies are made in favor of them in order to promote them more. So these all are done by the government in order to integrate these ethnic minorities or minor or marginalized subaltern people to make a national society. It is this forced homogenization. So when you make a supra-cultural entity, you are actually homogenizing the nation by negating the differentialities that are integral to cultures, integral to people's everyday life. It is this forced homogenization to which Ilya is a critic, is referring when he speaks of Hindu Brahmanical India that has created a feeling of minoritization and marginalization. Okay, so here mainly when nation is intended, the state or the nation is intended to integrate all the ethnic minorities to a national society, and they create a supra-cultural entity, what will happen? Forced homogenization will happen. Duncan Evinson's post-colonial liberalism proposes a form of mutuality, acceptable coexistence between indigenous and non-indigenous people. So Duncan Evinson, in this problem issue where forced homogenization will happen because of this integration of ethnic minorities into the national society, by negating their differentialities, by negating their individualities and indigenous qualities of their culture. Here in post-colonial liberalism, Duncan Envision, he proposes a form of mutually acceptable coexistence between indigenous and non-indigenous people. And what is it? We can see Envision outlines 5 features of a post-colonial liberalism. Post-colonial liberalism means coexistence of indigenous and non-indigenous people. So 5 features of such post-colonial liberalism. He says if we achieve these 4 features, post-colonial liberalism is possible. The idea of a basic but contestable threshold, that means there need to be a space that there we can context things. Multiple realizability and normative flexibility. So the system will be flexible. And realizability, multiple realizability means there will be a recognition of multiple realities. There won't be a recognition of supracultural entity, but there will be a recognition of differentialities and individualities, and normative flexibilities will be there. According to the culture of the ethnic group or the minority or the marginalized people, there will be a flexibility when it comes to certain situations. A norm suffused and contextual theory of rights. Okay, so there will be a theory of rights which is contextual and norm suffused. And socialization of capabilities. Okay, a practice dependent conception of freedom. So freedom is not something that is taught, but it will be practiced, a practice dependent conception of freedom. So these are the 5 features of post-colonial liberalism, in which it will make possible the coexistence between indigenous and non-indigenous people in a integrated society in this modern times, which was all these 5 features are put forward by a vision. So that's all about it. That's all about nation state. I know this was a little bit tough, but ultimately if you read 2 or 3 times or listen to the video full, then you will get some or other points. Do remember the critics that I have mentioned in here, and their works as well, and their notions, if that is not too much. So that's all about it. Meet you in the next video session. Until then, stay tuned to High Point, and also don't forget to visit my website and also follow me on Instagram. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, subscribe to it, and meet you in the next video session. Until then, bye bye. Thank you.